Sheesh. Yes people, welcome back to Brendan Pearson Fitness. So in today's video, we are going to be stripping it back to basics. So I've put together a simple 4-day-a-week program for anybody who's maybe just starting out the gym, someone who maybe hasn't been in the gym in a while, is just getting back into the swing of things, or someone who maybe has overcomplicated their training, maybe lost consistency, whatever it is, and wants to go back to the basics and just get the fundamentals right. People do overcomplicate their training a lot. There's so many different things you can do, but to progress, to get stronger, to build muscle, it's going back to basics. So today we are going to be looking at a very basic standard leg session. If I was starting out the gym, I would recommend something like this for someone. Again, might not be specific to you, but this is a general overall session that I would recommend for anybody who's getting into the gym and starting training. So we've got our 3 fundamental movements for the lower body. We have a squatting movement. This, for example, today we are going to be doing front squats. I've done a video covering all squat movements in a previous video, which will come up somewhere up here. Reason I like front squats, it keeps you a little bit more upright. If you have the flexibility in your wrist, I would probably choose that over a back squat. Less load going through your spine and it works the quads. It's a bit more of a knee dominant movement, whereas back squats brings a little bit of the lower backs, the glutes into it a little bit more. So anyway, less of that. If you want to listen to more about that or find out more, video is up there. So we've got a squatting movement, which is our front squats. We've got a hinging movement or deadlift movement. This could be deadlifts, RDLs is the example we're choosing today, barbell hip thrusts. Any of those exercises would be perfect, but like I said today, we are focusing on the RDL. Why? Because it teaches you really good form, teaches you how to brace your core. There's going to be constant tension on the body as well because there's going to be no rest, whereas with a conventional deadlift or a sumo deadlift, you're resetting and stopping at the ground. So we want to keep all the tension on the posterior chain, the glutes, the hamstrings, the lower back. So it's a good all-round exercise. And then to finish off, we have a single leg movement. So I'm a big believer in single leg movements, not just for people who are athletes, but also people who are just starting out the gym and just generally want to keep fit, because everybody has imbalances between the left side and the right side. If your right side is dominant, most of the time your left leg is going to be weaker than the right. So working on some single leg movements, this could be split squats, single leg press. The example we are using today, which is one of my favorite exercises, is the rear foot elevated split squat, also known as the Bulgarian split squat. So that is the example today. 3 exercises, nice and simple. Rep ranges, we're going to be aiming for probably 4, maybe 5 sets, depending on, but obviously including warm-up sets. The reason I want to go a little bit higher sets than this, if you're a beginner, is because you're going to be practicing the movement a little bit more. If you're someone who is a bit more advanced in training, has a lot more intensity with the training, you might only need 2 or 3 sets because you are experienced. You can push all the way to failure. You can lift a lot heavier loads. However, if you're a beginner, you're just starting out, you're going to need a few more. It's almost like practicing makes perfect. The more reps that you can do, the more sets, the more you can practice that movement, and also learn how to push yourself closer and closer to failure to obviously increase muscle damage and also build muscle and push yourselves a little bit harder. So you want to just practice it, probably stay a few reps away from failure and work on the technique and the form of the exercise, hence why the more sets. So be maybe 4 sets each exercise, working just the standard hypertrophy range between 8 and 12 reps. Keep it nice and simple. If you're someone who's starting out in the gym, just pick an exercise, start out with a weight, do 4 sets of 8 of it. Each week, come back and try and do maybe 4 sets of 9, 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 11, all the way to 12. Then once you get to that 4 sets of 12, increase the weight and drop to 4 sets of 8 and repeat the process. Keep it nice and simple, making it basic. I'm going to get warmed up. I'm not going to bore you with all the warm-up videos because I've done plenty of videos of my warm-up and all that stuff. And we'll jump straight into the first exercise, which for myself is going to be the front squats. Right, so first exercise, like I said, is going to be our basic squatting movement. So I'm going to opt for front squats. Like I said, I explained before why I prefer front squats over back squats for most people. As long as you've got that wrist flexibility, probably the best choice for you. So if you're someone who's just started getting back into the gym, or maybe it's the first time into the gym, I'll obviously prescribe you 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. However, what I want you to do is start with a nice, easy weight to start with. Might be your first time ever doing it, so you might have to start with a goblet squat, but say, for example, for me, I'm just going to start nice and easy at 50 kilograms, just to take it really easy. Each set, I'm just going to slowly increase the weight, so hopefully by that last set, should be a pretty tough set of 8 to 12 reps. Then once you kind of find that weight, when you come back to do the session, say next week, you already know, right, I hit maybe 60, 70 kilograms for that last set of 10 reps. I'm going to see if I can get maybe a few sets of that weight. So if it's the first time getting back into it, start a little bit lighter, make sure your form's on point, maybe film yourself doing an exercise just to check. If you've got a coach, get them to watch you or send the video over to them just to give you a few alterations. That's what I do with all my online clients. So we're going to jump in. First set again between 8 and 12 reps. If it feels quite comfortable, I'll push towards that 12. If it starts to feel a little bit tougher, I'll just stick to around that 8 reps, and then we'll just slowly increase the weight each set. So I got my 12 reps. In terms of rest periods, if you're someone who's just starting out, you can probably afford to rest a little bit less. So around 90 seconds at the minimum, at the most, 3 minutes if it's a really tough set. So we want enough time in between each set so that you're pretty much fully recovered. I wouldn't say completely, because we do want to kind of fatigue the muscle a little bit. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes rest in between, just to make sure that when you go into that set, you can lift as heavy as possible, keeping good form. You don't want to rest 60 seconds and still be breathing like I am now, go into your set and you lose your balance, and the cardio aspect is taking over from your muscles actually fatiguing. So maybe 2 minutes rest is standard, get back into it for your second set. So that's it. Pushed it up a little bit the weight, dropped it down to 10 reps. I could feel myself starting to fatigue. Lower back was fatiguing. Didn't want to lose my form. One more to go. So last set of 8 there. Kept it the same weight as that I did at set of 10. Just made sure my form was on point. Felt I was starting to lose my form a little bit the last few reps. So I played it safe and kept it at 8. As long as I come back in the next week, try and progress, try and beat my numbers, then I'm happy. Moving on to the next exercise. Make sure you take your time, recover, and warm up properly before you go into your next one. Right, so next up we've got our RDL, our Romanian deadlift. For this one, you can see I'm going barefoot. The only reason I've done this is because my trainers, my Metcons, I've got a slight little heel raiser which is going to help me for squatting. But when you're doing any sort of deadlift movement, I would personally recommend something flat-footed, so something like a Converse or a pair of Vans, or even just a pair like Metcons without the heel raising. But I like to go barefoot. I kind of get a feel for the floor a little bit better. You can drive through your heel. So yeah, I would just go flat-footed. You don't have to go barefoot, but it's just my preference when I'm training at home. Also, I like to use wrist straps for RDLs. I would not recommend these all the time, especially if you're a beginner and you're just starting out. You want to build some grip strength. You want to be able to lift weights and hold weights with your hands, build a forearm strength, build grip strength. So to start off with, I would try and limit the use of these for your deadlifts, for any sort of back work, upper body work. Try and limit this. Once you get to the point where you're lifting quite a considerable amount of weight, and what's stopping you from progressing in your deadlifts and anything like that is your grip. Maybe throw these in for a few sets, but start off with maybe for your first year as a beginner, try and avoid these unless you get to the point where you're progressing really quickly and your grip strength is really lacking, or maybe then add in some additional grip strength work like farmer's carries, suitcase carries, even some deadlifts, and just try and work the best without the straps. But anyway, straps on, going to do the same thing as with the squats, 4 sets. Start a little bit lighter, work more towards that 12 rep range. Then as we increase the weight, intensity should go up. That means our reps are going to probably slowly drop down. As long as we're in that 8 to 12 rep range, that last set should be a little bit tougher than all of them. But I'm going to show you how to put these straps on as well. Right, so here's how to put wrist straps on. I've had requests from clients and from other people to do this. So start off with, you've got your wrist strap. If it comes loose, comes in like one big thing like this, all you got to do is loop it through the one handle so it's all kind of facing a similar way. From there, this big loose bit and where it crosses over wants to go on the side of your palm, so just slide You can see, slide your hand in so that the crossover bit is in line with your palm. You're going to tighten it up as tight as possible, so it is pulling on your wrist quite a bit. As you can see, this bit is over my palm. So from there, you're going to rest your palm wherever you would normally grip on the bar for a deadlift or RDL, whatever exercise you're doing. Palm flat. Your hand goes on one side, the wrist strap goes on the other. You're going to wrap it round on the inside of your hand once, wrap it round twice, and then from that position you can just grip the bar like that. And then you're going to do the same on the other side. The only thing on the other side is a little bit more tricky because you're doing it with one hand. Exact same thing on the other side, wrap it round once, wrap it round twice, and then to tighten the bar, you're just going to pull almost as if you're on a quad bike. Pull towards you, make sure you get a good grip, and that is you in position, ready to do your set. Make sure, however, you don't rely on the straps completely because you will just let go of the bar. A few little things as well for RDLs. I think I've covered it briefly in another video. You want to make sure your feet are about hip width apart. I see some people deadlifting out in this position. If you're doing RDLs, take your feet directly hip width apart. Unless you're doing a sumo stance deadlift or something in between, there's no point doing that sort of stance. You want to isolate the hamstrings, glutes, all that posterior chain, and keep it nice and in line to do the nice straight hinge movement. So try and keep everything in line. Hand position, a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Making sure the whole time, everything from our head to our tailbone staying straight. Suck our stomach in, tiny little bend in the knee, and we don't want to let our knees drive forward on an RDL. Keep them locked in, and all we're doing is pushing the hips back, dropping our head down and our chest down in a nice straight line, then driving back up, squeeze the glutes at the top. It wants to be a nice, almost like you're bowing straight down, nice hinge, keep everything straight. Set number 3. Start fatigue a bit there, kept it at 10. Final set from a little side angle. That's it, 8 reps, pushed it a bit more. Technique still stays solid. If it starts to break, leave it. Drop the weight, get the form right. And now we'll move on to the next exercise. So, final exercise is our single leg exercise. We're going to be doing rear foot elevated split squats. Personally, my favorite leg exercise to do. Reason being is 1, single leg, fixing imbalances between left and right. Also, there's a lot of balance and stability involved, especially when you're doing it unsupported. You can do it supported, which I'll show a little example now. You can do it with your hand supporting on a bench, on a barbell, whatever it is, just to give you a little bit of assistance. You can do it on a Smith machine, do it for a little bit more balance. But if you can get to the point where you can do it with just dumbbells or barbell on your back, even better. Works a lot of stability around the knee, around the glute, especially if you're an athlete. Really, really good exercise. But even if you're not an athlete, get this one done. You can also control your foot position. So if you have really tight ankles in a squat, you'll probably end up having to compensate by leaning forward because you can't drive them knees forward over the toes. However, on a split squat, you can adjust your foot. So say you have tighter ankles, move your foot a little bit further forward so you can still get that full squat depth without obviously being limited by your ankle ability. Also, it works the back leg as well as the front. And it's just an absolute bitch of an exercise. It's horrible. So the way I like to do this, I do one side, I'm gonna rest about 45 seconds to a minute, then do the other side and just keep on bouncing back and forward. We're just gonna do the 3 sets on this because 4 sets absolutely kills you. 3 sets is enough. Again, between that 8 and 12 rep range, starting more towards the 12, a little bit easier and building up each set. I'm holding a 2.5 kilogram plate. Reason being is just to make sure my foot position is staying consistent throughout. So a nice easy way to find your foot position is stand right next to a bench. All you're going to do is go 1 foot forward, 2 foot forward, and it's going to be roughly around where that toe is, where you want to have your foot. It might be a little bit further forward, depending on how big your feet are, to be fair, and what your ankle mobility is like, but that could be a good rule of thumb. All you're going to do is make sure that that's equal either side. So when you do your left side, you do your set, and when you come to do your right side, your foot's going to be in the same position, so it's equal either side, and it saves you having to guess where your foot was. So we're going to get in, starting on your weaker side. Always, if I can only do 11 reps on my left side, I'm only going to do 11 reps on my right side, even if I feel that I could do 12 or 13 on that right side, just to make sure we are balanced in between. I'm going to keep the straps on because my forearms are killing us from yesterday's upper body session, and also just means that I don't have to lose any grip strength when I'm holding the dumbbells. So, set number 1, left foot forward, right foot's going to be flat. On the bench, going to be using almost like the joint between the foot and the shin. The ankle joint is my hinge point. Nice and slow down, keeping that chest up, trying to get that back knee close to the floor as we can, and driving up, keeping my heel on the floor, driving through the middle of the foot, trying to keep my chest up. Final sets. As you can see, I pushed myself a little bit more to failure on this exercise because it's a lot safer than trying to fail a back squat or an RDL. There's a lot more risk on those compound exercises. Whereas this one, if I fail, I can just drop down, I can throw the dumbbells to the side, I can push myself a lot more. Unfortunately though, I've got to do it on the other side now as well. As you can see, there was a big difference in terms of intensity on my left side compared to my right. My right side's a lot stronger. Just from years of playing football, constantly kicking the ball on my right side. It's just developed a little bit more strength, and obviously I've had injuries on my left side, which have stopped that from working. So you will always have little imbalances between left and right. You'll also find the more that you train, the longer you train, the more you'll be able to push closer to failure. To start with, failure to you might be 3 or 4 reps away from actual failure. The more you train, the more you can push yourself, the closer to that actual failure you can get. The more intense your training is, the more results you'll get. Just got to progress over time. So that is the leg session completed. 3 exercises, really simple. Squat movement, hinge movement, single leg movement. Stick to those exercises. Again, like I said, I put together a 4-day program. Nice and simple for anybody who's a beginner, getting back into the gym. A basic, simple program that will get you results. Simple, as long as you stick to it. Don't do more reps or more exercises than is set. As long as you're pushing with the right intensity, you will progress. Stick to the plan. So if you are picking these 3 exercises, stick to them for at least 4 weeks and try and progress them within the set rep ranges that I have set. Keep it simple, don't need to overcomplicate training. Bodybuilding part splits like chest days, arm days, back days, they're kind of in the past. Trying to get a little bit more frequency and working on set exercises is what will get you results. And yeah, you'll get better over time. So if anybody is interested in the program, message down below saying back to basics, and I'll message you, or just message me on Instagram, back to basics, and I'll send you over the program, send you over a bit of information. I want to help as many people as I can who are just starting out the gym, getting back into it. And yes, if you enjoyed the video, as always, give it a like. Subscribe down below for more videos. If you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments, all that good stuff. Also, make sure you're doing your mobility, your foam rolling, and also don't worry about other bits and bobs if you're just getting back in the gym, like leg extension, hamstring curls, stuff like that. Stick to the basics. Only other thing I am going to do now is work on these massive calves. Do 3 or 4 sets of calf raises, just to work on them. That's the only other thing. But yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in the next video. Over and out.